Yeah?
What are you looking at?
Oh. Hey, hi. You came back. Thanks. I was looking at that little statue up there, and that's the statue of Jesus, the Lamb of God. And that's a nice thing to look at. Richard Rohr, a great theologian, says that we should always look at Jesus. In any way that we can see, we should always see him. And this is a wonderful way of seeing him as the suffering Lamb of God who made it out of death. So, I am so happy you're here, I can't believe it. I'm going to take my mask off if that's okay with you. And I think I sound a little bit better. And today, we're at Our Lady of Grace. We were supposed to be here last week, but we got a little bit of snow, and we got a little bit of snow yesterday, which kind of scared me for today, but this morning, it's a beautiful morning. It's not too cold. The sun is out, and it's a great day to be here. Now, last week when we showed you Our Lady of Grace, we didn't show you this part of the building. This is what used to be the chapel until just a few years ago when the Eucharist was moved from here over to the church. So it's kind of like a meeting room right now, but it's a beautiful, beautiful room because it's so bright and a great ceiling and very contemporary, as is the rest of the church. So we're in a good space, and we have a very special, wonderful couple, Mr. and Mrs. Lorenc, who are with me, John and Lorraine. And John is a trustee, and we'll talk to him a little bit more. He has been a tremendous, tremendous help to me over the past few months trying to work all the three families together. So you'll get a chance to meet John and Lorraine, and they're going to tell us a little bit about some history of this church and this wonderful community. But as always, we begin with prayer, right? It's the most important thing we can do. Whatever we do, we want to do some prayer. And we always sing our little song. This morning, we always put somebody in our hands, right? And this morning I'm going to ask that we put Diane Biggis and her husband Tom Biggis in our hands. Now, Tom is very instrumental to us. He's often with us on our little journeys to different parishes. But because Diane has COVID, he is now home for 14 days. So I'm going to miss him, and I think the community is going to miss him too. And we're going to pray for Diane because Diane is always praying for us, for our family, and for the two other families as well. So it's time for us to place her and Tom in our hands. So it'll be Tom, Diane, and Tom. Okay? So I hope you'll join me in song, because it's a great song to begin with. Okay? He's got the whole world in his hands. 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 He's got you and me, sister, in his hands. He's got you and me, brother. In his hands, he's got Diane and Tom. In his hands, he's got the whole world in his hands. There. I love it when you sing with me because it makes me sound better. And I need all the help I can get. So, without further ado, I'd like you to meet some very, very special people, some wonderful people, some people who have wonderful history with this great community here at Our Lady of Grace, and they are right here with us. I'd like you to meet John and Lorraine.
Good morning.
Good morning. Am I close enough here? Okay, good. Well, thank you for meeting with us this morning. It's unusual, to be on TV. And just think, to make you feel better, the whole world could be watching us.
Thanks.
Okay? So I'm really, really happy to be with you today. And it's kind of nice for me to learn a little bit about the parish. I know a little bit about it, but you know so much more because you're so much a part of it. And so, John, how many years have you been trustee here at Our Lady of Grace?
6.
6 years.
Yeah, 6 years.
That's a long time, 6 years. And you've seen a lot in those wonderful 6 years, have you not?
Yes, I was asked by Dorothy Sokol.
Dorothy, yes.
And let's see, then it was Father Peter.
Mm-hmm.
And then the interim team.
Yep.
And now yourself. So
and me.
That's.
And I'm not going to let you go too soon, so don't you think about going away. So tell me a little bit about the two of you. How long are you married?
We've been married 51 years now.
Wow. You know, I often say when people tell me they've been married that long, some people don't live that long, and you've been married that long. So what a wonderful example you are to the church community, to our young people as well. That endurance, we make a promise, right? For better, for worse, for richer, for poorer. And I'm sure you had your experiences in your lifetime, and yet here you are, still together, holding hands. I often notice at church on the weekends that you guys often hold hands. And that to me is such a wonderful sign. My mother and father used to hold hands a lot, and it reminds me of them a little bit when they were much younger and before they went to heaven. So anyway, with that in mind, who's the first pastor you remember here at Our Lady of Grace?
Well, when we came, there wasn't a pastor.
Oh, there was no pastor.
Father Menti was here intern while they were interviewing people, and so we came at the same time he came.
Oh, really? Oh, and how long did he stay? Because he was made pastor, right?
Right.
And how long was he here?
He was here for 7 years. He said
7
years and I move on.
Wow. He is one of my favorite priests, Father Menti. And I think I told this story at our St. Joseph's because he was also at St. Joseph's, and they love him there too. But he's the one who got me at our Immaculate Conception. I was very content at St. Mary's in East Greenbush, Rensselaer area. And he called me one day, and this is kind of a repeat of the story, but he called me and he said, "Jerry, are you thinking about going to Immaculate Conception?" Because Father Connery was just about to retire. And I said, "Not really." I said, "I'm very content here at St. Mary's." He said, "I think you should think about going. The bishop thinks you should think about going." I said, "All right." So anyway, 2 weeks later, he calls me back. He said, "Are you thinking about going to Immaculate Conception?" And I said, "Ron, to tell you the truth, I never thought of it anymore. I just was never behind my mind to go there." He goes, "The bishop wants you to think about it." And I said, "All right." So another 2 weeks went by. It was the end of Holy Week. I remember it so clearly. And he said, "Jerry, are you thinking about going to Immaculate Conception?" And I said to him, "Ron, when am I going?" And he said, "Next Saturday." And so it got me here in this area. And I have to say, it's been one of my favorite assignments. I love the area. I love Immaculate, and I've come now to love Our Lady of Grace and St. Joseph's that I knew a little bit about, but not a whole lot about until 2 months ago when I became a little more invested in both communities. So we were speaking earlier about the old church, which you were not part of, but that old church is not too far from here, and I believe it's now a Baptist church. And I think the community grew out of that church, right? It got too big. And so they came here, they built part one, and then how many years ago was the addition put on?
Addition was put on 97.
Well, it was done, let's see, in the middle of 97, so it probably was going on for a while. So you guys remember that as well. So tell me about the old church here when you first started coming here. Was it real small, or? I think he remembers more. I was raising little kids.
How many kids? How many children do you have?
We have 4.
4. Any in the area still?
Well, you know
Joanne?
Alex and Sammy and
yes, that's right.
Joanne
yes,
and Ryan,
Joanne.
so
Mm-hmm.
they live right around the corner from us.
Mm-hmm.
And then our daughter lives in Gainesville.
Oh.
And the other 2 are East Coast, but
East Coast.
Pennsylvania and Virginia.
Wow. Do you get down to see them often?
Not since COVID.
Not since COVID. It's changed our whole life, hasn't it? COVID.
Yes, it has.
Yeah.
Yes, it has.
So tell me what you remember about the building before the. What was the front entrance? Was it in the front where it is now? Was that the main door?
Same place.
Same place.
Yeah, same place.
Uh-huh.
And from there, you took the stairs down, and where the gathering space is now, that was part of the original worship area.
Wow.
The classrooms weren't there at that time, so
It was open.
the entire area
Oh.
was the worship area.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the altar was a stage.
Oh, there was a stage.
There was a
Yeah.
stage, and we still had our folding chairs,
Uh-huh.
or movable chairs.
It's always been kind of mobile, huh?
Yes,
Yes.
it
So
is.
you could use it
Yeah.
for a lot of things. Yeah.
Yeah.
I noticed in the vesting area for the priest, there's a very old vesting cabinet. Now, do you remember that being in that old church, your first church?
I'm trying to remember whether it was in that room.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Because that
It's
goes.
always been around.
Yeah, that goes back a number of years, and I'm even wondering if it was in the old church over on William Street, because it's really quite an old piece, and I always think of my days as a kid at my old church with those little drawers with the priest's vestments. They used to put them in the drawers; they were so thin. You know, now there's these big things that we hang on a closet. You know, so that's interesting how the church grew, the community grew, and you had to expand. Now, tell me what that was like. Did people want to do that? Was there a lot of difficulty with some people not wanting to do it and some wanting to? There's always usually that two sides of remodeling, you know.
I think everybody felt it was time.
Mm-hmm.
And Father Tony had a way of, even if you don't agree, you
Yeah.
agree by the time he's done talking.
He
to
talked you into it. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, Tony was quite a guy, and really quite a legend here, I think, at Our Lady of Grace. So often I hear his name. And when I was at Immaculate Conception for the first time, for just a few years with Father Connery and Father Tony were pretty good friends. And so he would have him over for dinner. And oftentimes Father Matulowicz, who was here for a short time too as pastor, right?
Yep.
He would join us for dinner. And Tony's personality was such that he could always get a little conversation going and get somebody upset, you know. And he used to kind of tease Father Matulowicz, and I remember that so much. It was a great dinner because I was laughing so much, but Ron Matulowicz was all upset, you know. but Tony had that wonderful way about him. And tell me a little bit about him and his style at church.
Easygoing.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the memories is of Baron,
Yep.
his dog.
His dog.
And I remember, was it my father? Was it Bill?
Yep, my father.
When he came to one of the events and saw Baron follow Tony to the altar, he was enamored with Tony. He says, well, the guy can't be bad at all because he's a dog person.
He loves dogs. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Baron would stay right at the altar too, wouldn't he?
Yeah, every once in a while he'd get up and walk away. But
Walk
most
away,
of the
yeah.
time he would stay at the altar.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the other thing is that Tony was down to earth. He was willing to listen,
Easy to talk to.
easy to talk to,
Mm.
and he was one of those people that had a good voice. He was part of the oratory.
Oh yes, the Oratorial Society. Yeah.
Yeah.
Burnt Hills.
And I guess that's where the love of music in this parish started with him.
Oh.
We had a folk group that played for a while, and I know that we actually had 2 different choirs, the folk group and
More traditional.
yeah,
Mhm.
more traditional, traditional for Our Lady of Grace choir.
Yeah.
But when he heard Patty at IC,
Oh.
he asked her over and over again until
Oh, yeah.
he finally wore her down.
He got her to come, yeah. Yeah, I always remember that because I always thought Patty would be such an addition to Immaculate Conception, you know. So yeah, he was good that way, Tony.
And
Yeah.
they sang so wonderful together.
Yeah. It's not often that the priest presider is a singer. You know, sometimes you get a guy who can sing, but for a large part, most of my contemporary priest brothers don't like to sing. You know, but I remember Tony really did like to sing, you know, and it makes a difference on the parish too, because if the priest presider is willing to sing, I think he encourages the rest of the body to sing, you know. So I was wondering, was Baron Catholic, the dog?
He came to church.
Well, that makes him pretty Catholic, right? Yeah, I don't remember Baron. I know stories of him, but I don't remember the dog himself. So, about how long did it take to make that addition?
It didn't seem like it took that long because they were able to work behind closed doors, so to speak.
Oh, I see. Yeah, right.
And it wasn't until they tied into, you know, the two worship areas.
Oh, I see. When they broke that wall. Oh.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember exactly, but I thought it was only a matter of a couple of months that we were.
Much longer planning it than
Yeah.
actually building it.
Yeah. Now, were you on the planning for that building?
No. I was otherwise occupied.
Yeah, with your babies.
They weren't babies by that time.
They were bigger.
Well, 2 of them got married that same summer.
Oh, I see.
One got married in the old church, and
Mhm.
the other one had to find someplace else to get married because that's when they were connecting the 2.
Where did they go for their marriage?
The chapel at St. Sienna.
At Siena College. Did they go to Siena?
My daughter did.
Oh, nice.
And we have a son that was baptized there at one point.
Oh, good. Now, for the planning of the building, how did that come about? Did you want something that, because it's a very flexible building. It's not your traditional church building. So that must have been part of what you were all looking for.
Absolutely. Our Holy Thursday dinners needed a bigger place than the gathering area right now.
Yeah.
And I remember the racket that we used to start up when we were bringing tables in.
Moving all those chairs in there.
So when the service ended, there was an awful lot of movement of chairs and tables. And that's where we had our dinner.
Oh.
But I think originally, we have, there's land out there, so the original thought was they would use this and then eventually build the church.
Oh, I see.
Which
Yeah.
maybe we were just so happy there, nobody thought of it
Yeah.
later.
Yeah. Now, when you had Holy Thursday, did you keep the tables in there and have like the service around the dinner? No, the tables came out and the church was put back together. Wow. Yeah. There is something really positive about a building like that where you can integrate your social life and your prayerful life, together. I was telling Patty that I often thought that we could change that inside because it's where the altar is. It's just like a stage, and it comes apart. It's all blocks, right? And maybe to make something different, like for Easter, to change that building, to change the chairs. It would be kind of exciting to do. Of course, now with COVID, we're stuck because there's that pattern we have. There's the limited chairs that we have, so it has really affected us in so many ways. But I think for the most part, it really does work pretty well there for liturgy. I always like the buildings that the people are closer to the altar. As we saw at St. Joseph's, after they did that remodel, it looks similar to this in the sense that people are much closer together. Immaculate Conception is different because it's so big, but it has that same concept of people on all sides, so it makes for good prayer. So after Father Diacetes, after he died, who was the next person that came in? Was that Ron Matulowicz? Did he come in around that time, or?
He was between Ron Menti and Tony.
Oh, I see.
I think Neil Hook came in.
Oh, Neil Hook came in as deacon and parish life director.
Yes.
Yeah. So you've not had a priest for a while, because we are just so short on priests. So you had a lot of parish life directors.
Well, we were lucky that Father Jack was around.
Father Jack, I wanted to bring him up too. Father Jack Varno, who was, I think, a good friend of Tony's, Father Diacetes, and has really been involved in this parish for many, many years, right?
He supported us during a time that we lost Father Tony. Father Tony had died 1 week, and our granddaughter died the following week.
Oh, really?
Right after birth.
Yeah, right after birth.
Oh.
And I remember my son-in-law saying, it's too bad
that Tony wasn't here.
Yeah.
But Jack just kind of came through.
He rallied, huh?
He rallied for our family then. He rallied for,
He's
Ryan.
been with Ryan was at birth, had trouble, and he was the one that went down to the hospital and baptized him there.
Yeah.
It's nice to hear nice stories about the priest. You have good stories about Father Tony, Father Jack, Father Ron Menti. Sometimes the press focuses on the guys that made bad mistakes. But here we have some pretty guys that were anchors and big hearts and out there for the people. So that's great. You had a part of that. And I'm sure you are supportive to them as well, because a priest is only good if his people love him, and I sense that with all three of those guys.
And Father Jack is there for our grandkids now, so it's...
Yeah.
In fact, he's confirmation sponsor for Alex.
Is he?
The oldest, yeah.
Oh, Alex with a K.
Right.
As I learned.
And he just loves Ryan and Sammy and always asks about them.
Yeah. They are special children. Your grandchildren, I think, are going to be serving at Immaculate Conception. We're doing Holy Week together, and I'm pretty sure we're asking them to do Holy Saturday, the movement of the big candle and stuff like that. And I said, Ryan and Alex will be just the guys you want to do that, because they're big enough, to handle that. So we'll see how that all turns out. What's it like now, having different priests coming in on the weekend? That must be a little...
we were kind of introduced with Tony went away for the winter, Jack went away for the winter. So we're kind of used to having different priests come in.
Yeah. And I have to say, I feel very well received. And that's not always the case. But I find the community to be very welcoming, and maybe because of that, they had different priests for so many years, who would pop in, and stuff. So, that's good. And then you had a number of parish life directors too, right? You had Neil Hook for a number of years, and you had Dorothy Sokol for a number of years. And then over the past year and a half, you had Debbie, right, from Debbie Griffith from our St. Joseph's, who was kind of a little bit of a coordinator for things. And so you've been through a lot, but you guys really have, like your marriage, really held it together. And I find very happy people here when I come to visit, you know, and when I'm here on the weekends, I find a good community. So we'll see what God has in store for us, right? We always have to look ahead and see what the future will be for all of us, you know. That we might be blessed with more vocations is something that I pray for a lot, you know, because there are so many churches now that are 1 and 2 and 3. I mean, look at Schenectady, how many, all those guys have 2 churches to take care of, and that's hard. You know, it's hard to become really anchored in your parish when you're split. You know, so. But anyway, so it's a challenge for us, John. I think you could attest to that, right? It's a challenge, and I've met so many new people. When I first started interacting with this parish in St. Joseph's, of course now with COVID, we did everything on Zoom. I sometimes didn't know who I was talking to, whether it was St. Joseph's Church, Our Lady of Grace. You know, it was so complicated, you know. But now it's much easier. I know some faces and stuff, you know. So anyway, well, it was really great to sit here and to chat with you. I'm so glad you shared your time, because it's important that people learn that, you know, there are anchors in every church. They all have anchors. Some people refer to them as pillars, but I don't like to refer to people like yourselves as pillars, because pillars are solid mass and they just stay there, whereas an anchor is pulled up and is thrown back down, and there's a lot of movement and activity. And I think that's the two of you, you know, good anchors for this parish, and you provided another generation of wonderful people for this parish as well. So anyway, I thank you for being with us today, and I thank you personally too for accepting me for as long as I'll be here, and trying to work with me and helping me make my way through uncharted territory, you know.
Doing a good job.
It's uncharted for all of us.
Yeah, it is. But anyway, so thank you very much. I think we'll be seeing a lot of you. Christine, thank you once again for being with us. And we'll keep Tom and Diane in our prayers. And where we'll be next week is still a mystery, but we'll be somewhere hopefully. So God bless you. Thank you. Many more years to you.
Bless you too.
And the best to our future together. So thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, I'll see you all. And remember, wear your masks, keep your distance, get your vaccine if you can. And remember, most of all, that I love you very much. Okay? So we'll see you again. Bye.